NFL released their schedule last night. Big night on the sports calendar every single year. Now you can really start to dive into win totals, division bets. At least I wait till the schedule anyway. And we'll talk about it more with a good friend of the show, Adam Chernoff with Right Angle Sports and FootballBetters.com as he joins the Progressive Guest Line. Adam, good afternoon. Good to speak to you again. How's the offseason going?
Offseason been going great. Good to see you guys as well. You guys are looking good. Looking forward to chatting NFL for the first time in a few months here.
Okay, so we'll talk to you for the next half an hour. Let's begin in this segment with the winners after last night's schedule release. And as I teased before the break, the team that you think has the clearest path of any team to get the number one seed in either conference, who'd you really like after last night's schedule release?
100% the Buffalo Bills. Clearest path to the one seed, either conference, by a mile. You said it. I think it's even stronger than that. Like, you can double and triple down on this thought because the Bills get an absolute walk in the AFC relative to their opponents that they're going to be facing. It's a top 5 schedule for ease of difficulty overall. It's the easiest road schedule. And for this team, I mean, all of the hard games that they have are going to be played at home. And those yesterday drew really well. They have the rest of the offseason to prepare for Baltimore in week 1. And then the Chiefs and the Eagles and the Buccaneers and the Bengals are all in the second half of the season. And so the Bills are able to go on this early run where they have a lot of home games, a lot of easier opponents. They're able to stack up wins, get things figured out on both sides of the ball. Some of the defensive suspensions return. And then you have this strong home field advantage that's been one of the best in the league since Allen took over, where you're hosting all of these teams that are coming off of playing top 12 schedules for each of them in terms of difficulty. They're all in brutal divisions that are going to be beating each other up. And it just sets up so well for the Bills. They don't have 3-game road trips anywhere on the schedule. And even from a rest perspective, the one Monday Night Football appearance that they have is right before their bye week. So they don't even get caught with the short prep week as well. This is a dream for the Bills, and this is their best opportunity to win the AFC, to win the one seed, to lock up home field advantage. I certainly think they do.
It's also a dream for the 49ers, right? With this easy schedule that they face?
I mean, it's kind of a joke for San Francisco when you look at it. Honestly, they went from the 5th most difficult schedule last year to the easiest overall this year. Their top 5 easy road, top 5 easy home, any way you want to look at it. This sets up so well. And the rest disparity is kind of crazy too. When you think about what they dealt with last year, which was a net of -22 to this year's +9 for rest days. So they have a month extra rest last season to this season compared to their opponents, which is ridiculous. They don't face any opponents coming off of a bye all season. And 8 of their final 10 games in the schedule are against teams coming off of a road game. So everywhere you want to look at this 49ers schedule and every way that it shapes up, I mean, this is as easy as it gets for the 49ers. They're going to have a big offensive scheme shift as they really need to try to figure out how to beat man coverage after seeing a record high of it last year for a Shanahan season. Defensively, they're loaded up again with Robert Salah, so you have to have pretty high expectations for the 49ers going into this season.
Yeah, no kidding. And the win total reflects that as well. I mean, their power rating is always super high. The win total there is at 10.5 with various juice at different books. The Patriots now, a lot of steam on this team, a lot of hype already after the schedule from last night. They're favored in 11 games this year already after they were not favored in a single game last year, and the win total is 8.5. But you really like the way things broke last night for New England.
Yeah, if you're a Pats fan, if you're a Pats player, if you're anyone on that coaching staff, I think you have to be thrilled. If we're thinking about this from a betting perspective, I would say there's 3 reasons why you want to bet on a Patriots over. Not necessarily advocating it for myself, but just putting myself in better shoes. One would be you're looking at Mike Vrabel and say, hey, he's turning this team around. It's going to be a big step up from Gerard Mayo. Number 2 would be the defense returns to form. It fell off last year without Belichick. Hey, maybe Vrabel can get it back up to a top 13, top 14 level in the league. And then you would hope that Drake May is going to take the leap in year 2. The way that the schedule broke for the Pats, I think, is ideal for all 3 of those. In the first 9 games, the only opponent that the Pats have that is currently rated above average in power ratings is the Buffalo Bills, and they play them a little bit later into October. I don't know how you want to classify Michael Penix. I got a little bit exaggerative in the newsletter and said, hey, look, if you want to say he's a new first-time starter, I know he started 3 games down the stretch last year, but if you put him in that category of the 9 quarterbacks that the Pats will face in the first 9 games, 6 of them can be classified as first-time starters. And the really difficult games beyond the Bills, Bucks, Bengals, Ravens, all of those are coming later in the year. So you look thinking about this from a Pats perspective, like what do you want to get going right with the team early? They're going to be able to figure all of that out against pretty manageable opponents. So it's not like they're getting thrown into a spot where they're really tested early. So it's a pretty great draw for the Pats overall.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned this earlier, that Miami's looking at a lot of cold weather games, and it could be as many as 4. You have a unique take on Arizona, considering young quarterbacks who they face early, and also that weather won't be a problem with Arizona.
Yeah, so I think one of my strongest offseason takes so far that as we preview teams over the weeks and months to come will become pretty apparent is I think Arizona is going to take a pretty big step forward this season. And I think the defense specifically is going to be a unit that takes a really big step forward. They nailed free agency. They nailed the draft. New D-line coach that everyone loves. New linebackers coach everybody loves. Last year, they played so hard. They're buying in for Jonathan Gannon and what he's doing. This year is where the leap forward takes place. And you think about all those new pieces up front in the secondary as well. Like, what an ideal way for the Cardinals to figure things out early. They start with very likely Tyler Shuck as a rookie. Then you have Bryce Young. Then it's Sam Darnold and a new offense behind a new O-line. Cam Ward is a rookie. I don't know who the Colts are going to trot out as quarterback. I mean, it's a really good start for the Cardinals to figure out this defense early. So, like, stock arrow up both sides here for the Cardinals, offense and defense. But as you mentioned, cold weather games late in the season, that's a big deal. Obviously, Arizona plays all of their home games indoors, but the way that the schedule fell, Arizona is going to play 4 of their 4 road games indoors, which is a big break for them. And then of the outdoor road games that Arizona gets, there's really only one that you can point to on the schedule that could have weather implications, that is cold weather, snow, bad conditions, and that would be Cincinnati in week 17. Otherwise, these other outdoor games, they fell at really good times within the schedule. So Arizona as a dome team indoors, it's going to be really comfortable all season long. So not only did they nail free agency in the draft, but man, Arizona, the way the schedule fell and the distribution of games, got it really well as a team overall.
Very good. Adam Chernoff, our guest here on the Progressive Guest Line. So for the first time in history, the Minnesota Vikings will play back-to-back international games in 2 different cities. You think that could be a good thing for the Vikes?
2 different cities, 2 different countries, although the flight time, like one of the things that I think is really overblown that we're seeing is the miles traveled by teams. I think it's one of the most overblown things we hear every time. The distance from Dublin to London from a flight is incredibly short. So it's not like it's going to be incredibly taxing on them like it's being labeled up to be with all this travel. Here's where it broke pretty well for Minnesota. Those 2 games against Pittsburgh and Cleveland, again, we're talking about Arizona being an indoor team and how favorable the draw was getting all these road games that are indoor games. When I was looking at Minnesota's schedule, they have a brutal home schedule, and they really needed things to break right for them on the road in order to get to a point where you're looking at 9+ wins to go over the win total. Well, you see these 2 games, not only are Pittsburgh and Cleveland removed from being late season games in bad weather for Minnesota to have to go outdoors and play, both of them now are going to be international games. So you remove home field advantage from both the Steelers and the Browns, which matters. But then I also start to wonder, are we looking at maybe the second game for Minnesota as being perhaps closer to a home game than a road game, with them not having to travel across the ocean with a longer flight, whereas the second opponent is going to have to? I think the answer is yes. So both of these were road games for Minnesota. Their schedule went from 8 home games, which were brutal, and 9 road games, which could have fell pretty poorly, to, I would say now at best, 8 home games, 7 road games, and 2 neutral. I think I could probably make the case it's closer to 9 home games, 7 away games, and 1 neutral. I think that's a pretty good draw for Minnesota with those 2 international games. Now, the rest of the first 8 weeks, it's going to be tough. All the NFC North teams have it pretty tough. But for me, Minnesota, with those 2 games and the opponents they got, it's a pretty good deal for them, I think.
All right, dynamite analysis on the Vikings there and a bunch of other teams. We'll continue here on Follow the Money. It's VSIN, the Sports Betting Network, with Adam Chernoff. He's on the Progressive Guest Line with Right Angle Sports and FootballBetters.com. We will dive into Adam's schedule losers up next. The NFL was not too kind to the 2 Super Bowl participants from a year ago. Find out why next here on VSIN. We continue talking NFL schedule release, observations, and takeaways with a longtime friend of the show, Adam Chernoff, with Right Angle Sports and FootballBetters.com as well. He is on the Progressive Guest Line. So as much as you like the path for Buffalo in the first segment to get the 1 seed out of any team in the sport, and specifically the AFC, I think it's the exact opposite for the New York Giants. First of all, a bad football team going in. And you could expand on this, Adam. But my God almighty, the first 4 games at the Commanders, at the Cowboys, Chiefs on Sunday night, then the Chargers. And if you look at the overall schedule, it doesn't get much easier than that.
No, there's no weeks off anywhere. I get roasted for this take. And there's a Twitter thread that has like 100 replies of people just criticizing me. I think this is the perfect case, if I had to make one in court, for why the NFL needs to remove divisions, get rid of them. Then it's a hindrance to the schedule, because for a last place schedule that the Giants are drawing here, it makes no sense. And compare that to the Bills with a first place schedule, it makes no sense either. But there's no weeks off for the Giants. And as a team with so many questions, like, how secure is Dayball's job? Is he going to make it through the season if this goes as bad as it looks like it might? What happens with Winston? Do we see Dart earlier than we expected? I have no idea what's going to happen with this team. I have no idea where the wins come from. I get the D-line is loaded, but is the D-line going to matter when you're facing 7, 14, 21-point deficits week after week against a murderer's row of schedule? This is as bad as it gets for the Giants.
Okay. Is Tennessee a close second then? Or close first?
I think so. Yeah. Well, if you had to handpick a bad start for Cam Ward and this offense that's trying to figure things out, and a coach that's desperately trying to find answers, going on the road to play Denver, which has a legitimate chance of being the best defense we've seen in the last decade in the NFL. I mean, the best teams struggle going on the road to Denver. This is a nightmare start for Cam Ward, but it doesn't get easier after that. The Rams coming up were a top 10 defense last year. A very underrated Colts defense with Lou Anarumo taking over with all those veterans. Houston on the road in Houston, suffocating pass defense. We saw what they did in the playoffs. Revamped Arizona defense, we talked about last segment, on the road as well. And then it's a third road game again against Las Vegas and Max Crosby and that pass rush. I mean, it is a brutal start for Tennessee. Not quite as bad as the Giants. But, man, you think about this 3 road games in a row as well. 31% win rate for these teams facing 3 road games in a row since the schedule change. And Cam Ward has to deal with that, these other tough defenses. And we still don't know what the ceiling might even be with him. It's not like it was a slam dunk #1 highly rated prospect. Like, there were concerns about him up until later in March. So, I mean, this could be brutal for Tennessee to start as well.
Yeah, the schedule makers were unkind to the Eagles and the Chiefs, the 2 teams who played each other in the Super Bowl last year. Why do you think they did them no favors last night?
Believe it or not, the Eagles don't have back-to-back home games all season. I thought it was a typo initially as I'm looking at schedule grids. I'm going through it. I don't know if this has ever happened before. I looked around this morning. I couldn't find any data on it. But you look through the Eagles schedule, it goes home, road, home, road, home, road, home, road all season. There's back-to-back road games because in the back-to-back home spot, it's a bye week for the Eagles. But they don't have 2 straight home games in a row all season. So that's going to be a grind to deal with all year, considering the schedule and the difficulty they're going to face. The top 5 difficult schedule to begin with. The Chiefs, as everybody knows by now, they get the showcase standalone primetime treatment that went past rules I thought were established. I heard a podcast this morning with the VP of scheduling that seems to be kind of going against the 6-game maximum that these teams were for years forced into, because now you have Christmas and you have the international games and you have the expanded schedules which allegedly don't apply to that old rule of 6 games. I mean, it's just kind of changing for the ratings and the different platforms and the subscriptions and everything that comes with it. Here's what I'll say. Washington's in the same boat as well. I think the expectations for Washington going through that schedule and how they have to go around with some of the rest disadvantages is a worse overall schedule, and they get the worst side of this showcase treatment than the Chiefs do. I think the Chiefs are better prepared for it. Where I think the Chiefs got the short end of things, and this might sound minor, but I think it stands out, is they have 3 road games in prime time out of the division: the Giants, the Jags, and the Cowboys. And again, those are 3 games where the Chiefs are going to be favored, have a very good chance to win. But when you look at every other team, especially these showcase teams that are getting 5 and 6 and 7 of these primetime and standalone spots, all of those games are either in division or matchups of 2 elite teams that are very good. The Chiefs, by virtue of getting these, have 3 of these easy winnable games essentially elevated, because you're going to get the biggest home field advantage for these teams and the biggest buy-in spot all season. We're already seeing ticket prices, sellouts, and prices go through the roof. I think that that's kind of an unfair draw for Kansas City. I know nobody wants to hear Kansas City and unfair in the same statement, but this is the new NFL, I guess, where it's just putting the best teams in as many games as possible.
All the money, Pauly and Mitch, VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. Adam Chernoff, our guest on the Progressive Guest Line. What do you think of some off-season moves that you like and why you're so high on the Denver defense?
Again, I think there's no team since 2015 has held opponents to 4.5 yards per play or fewer in a season. The last team to do it was the 2015 Broncos. The Broncos last year were number 2 in defense overall for the entire season on a per-play basis. They're not far off. If Greenlaw is healthy, which it looks like he is, paired with Hufanga, they re-sign Jones, Singleton will be back, and then they draft Barron, who will be cornerback number 2 opposite Surtain. This defense is absolutely loaded, and I think has potential to be a 4.5 yard per play team for the first time in a decade. I don't think Denver did anything wrong on defense all year. That is a stacked defense coming out of Denver. I love what they did this offseason.
Yeah. Anything else that you really, really loved overall in the offseason up until this point?
Yeah, I thought Pete and Chip in Las Vegas, I mean, if you have to be a Raiders fan, you're thrilled with what they did. The fact they didn't go rebuild, I know they're probably not going to win the division, and that's an unrealistic expectation, but just to sign Geno, to go with Genty first, to secure Crosby, just the fact that they're saying that they want to compete now and try to win, I think is a huge victory for Raiders fans and Raiders personnel. And then the Bears, I mean, buying into Ben Johnson's vision here and what he wants: O-line overhaul, wide receiver addition, tight end addition. They're going to be moving Caleb Williams under center to kind of open up the pass and the run game. I think everything that they did so far is fantastic. And again, I'll drop this out there, but think about 2017 with the Rams. They had Jared Goff in year 2, number 1 pick, who failed miserably under Jeff Fisher. It was the hot coordinator in Sean McVay who just turned around the Commanders. What did they do in the offseason? They got 3 offensive linemen added. With the first pick, they drafted a tight end. With the second pick, they drafted a wide receiver. They completely switched what Jared Goff does on offense. And all of a sudden, that offense with the hot coordinator hire went from 32nd to 7th in yards per play. It's almost kind of spooky how similar the parallels are to how Chicago's building this team in the offseason with Johnson to what McVay did to turn around that Rams franchise. That's getting hard to ignore for me. And I have no negatives about what the Bears have done this entire offseason.
That is a dynamite nugget to make note of. Any official season-long bets that you've made so far that you want to give out here?
I've got a couple. Bills, as you can tell, I'm very high on, right. Over 11.5 wins. Also have 8-1 Super Bowl, as well as plus 750. Cardinals, as you know, very high on, over 8.5. That's at even money. And then the Colts, I think that defense is going to be way better than expected. Offense, a big question mark, but over 7.5 was one I played with them as well. So those are some early ones. A lot of futures and stuff that I'm looking at too. Jade Barron, Defensive Rookie of the Year, 20-1, opposite Surtain.
Sure.
Should have plenty of opportunities for picks and plays on balls. So we've got a lot to talk about in the weeks to come. There'll be more, but those are a few that I have so far.
Very good. You can follow Adam on X. He's at Adam Chernoff, again, footballbetters.com and Right Angle Sports. That was awesome, man. Great catching up with you today. Thanks so much for the time.
Appreciate it, guys. Good to be chatting with you, and chat again soon. Enjoy the spring and summer.
You too.
Thank you.
Let's do it. There you go. Adam Chernoff.
Thank you for Lioness as well. You recommended that.
He was the first one to tell you?
The last time he was on during the regular season.